Hello and welcome to episode 54 of the Arena Regulars podcast. I'm Zach,
And I'm Jeff.
and we're your source for weekly Drunken Magic the Gathering arena content.
Yeah, basically, we're regular dudes drinking irregular beers. This time, I promise, it's beer. And we're talking about Magic the Gathering, in particular the online client, MTG Arena.
That's right, and this week we're talking all about Crimson Vow Draft. Yes, because that's basically
Woohoo.
most of all of what I've been doing. Because I didn't get to go to Vegas like everybody else in the Magic community this weekend.
That's right. Well, they were playing a format I've never heard of before. Modern?
I don't know what that is.
I don't know.
Yeah, must be really old. I don't know why they call it modern.
Yeah, I think it's like a different game, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, each week we both bring a beer, we drink our own, then drink each other's, rate them on a scale of bronze to mythic, and choose the best for last. So with that, Jeff, what's on tap?
All right, so I brought a beer called Viaduct IPA. I hope I'm saying that right. It's from Danforth Brewery. It's 6%, and it's a West Coast IPA. So I guess a viaduct is a type of bridge. You know those bridges that have a bunch of arches?
Oh.
So that's what a viaduct is. And this one is in particular referencing, you know, when like Bloor Street turns into Danforth? The bridge that you go over.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It's like it goes over the DVP. I think that's what this is talking about.
Interesting. All right. So it's a bridge that goes over water? I guess. Isn't that every bridge?
I don't know how troubled the water is, but it definitely goes over.
All right. This week I brought a beer that I don't know why I didn't bring this before. I might have some guesses, but this one is from Muskoka Brewery. It is called Midnight Magic, which sounds like a really nice name for a draft video, maybe. Like,
Yeah. Might have to steal that one.
we might steal this name because it's pretty good. But anyway, it's a small batch, so this is part of Muskoka's Kettle series, which they do every once in a while and just have a few people from their staff brew this beer. And this one specifically is brewed by Kurt, Sam, and Matt. And it is a dark saison with Pinot Noir Pomace.
Ah,
Yes. Oh, the Pomace of the Pinot Noir.
still on that wine train, huh?
Exactly. I thought that's basically why I got it, is because, I wasn't ready to go back to beer yet. I wanted a little bit of wine in my beer. But it is 4.8%.
That's like a third of a wine, then.
Yes. It's definitely not going to be like last episode. Oh, man. Anyway, magic news. Jeff, it's almost here.
What is?
The Draft Arena Open is next weekend, December 4th and 5th. It's going to be great.
Wow, that is exciting.
Yeah, well, like we've said this for a couple weeks, but we are so excited. We've been talking about this since we started the show, how we've wanted one of these to be draft, and we're finally getting it. So fingers crossed the client holds up and everything works out fine.
Yeah, that's the big question. Because I remember when we got the sealed one for the first time, we're like, okay, it's limited. You know, I'll give you that. But can we have a draft one, please?
So we're finally getting a draft one. However, recently, in other Magic news, there have been some client issues. I didn't really want to bring it up on the show because last week it was like, yeah, it's a new set. It happens. This week was rough enough where they had to take the new update and then kind of go backwards and be like, you know what? We aren't going to update it as early as we thought because it screwed things up so much that they didn't fix things.
I see.
So it's been a little rough. I think as of this moment, it has been implemented and everything has been going smoothly since then. But it was a little bit of a rough weekend. But for our troubles, there is an arena code that is Courier Bat, which is a card I have never played at all. But if you type that in, you get some stuff. So everyone gets it. So just go do that.
It's not just like a courier bat, like
Card style?
Zoom style, right? Because that's literally never going to use
Yeah, I think it's like 2,000 gold, 2,000 experience, and like 3 rares and some card styles. So it's
okay.
it's pretty decent. My rares happen to all be 20 gems, but whatever. Hey, free, 60 gems.
Still take it.
I'll take it. So, but yeah. Anyway, Jeff, are we ready to just jump right into this draft talk? Draft talk.
I know I am.
All right. Jeff, the first question I have for you is, what is this? The Hurt Locker? Why are there so many bombs everywhere? I'm confused.
Yeah, this is a really, really balmy format.
Like,
I mean,
when was the last time we said that the format was really balmy? Like, Kaldheim?
yeah, maybe Call Time. I think the rares are stronger in this than they were in Call Time.
Yeah.
Some of these rares just feel unbeatable.
Really just, there are a lot of rares that are just like, oh, I can't do anything. I talked about this last episode, so I'm not going to go into some of the horror stories I've had. Having a really bomby set can make people really frustrated. Which for me, it doesn't frustrate me that much because I'm like, what are you gonna do? You know, some people get stuff, some people get those cards, whatever. It's hard when, I don't know. We have a list of cards that Amy the Amazonian has been keeping track of throughout doing drafts that she thinks are like the list of cards that are too powerful, or I guess just the balmy bombs. And there's 21 of them, which is a lot.
Yeah, I remember like one of the first drafts I did. I think I got a Toxrill in pack 2 or something. So then I was in red black already, and I got this Toxrill. So then I decided, okay, I'm going to build like a red black control deck, and just because I know I'm going to win in the end if I can just slam this card. And that deck did really well. And I remember looking back on it, I was thinking, I must have just got the best card in the format, right? It felt like nobody could ever beat this. And I'm looking through the set, I'm like, it's like 5th best somehow, even though it's like pretty much was impossible for any of my opponents to beat. Like every time it was just like, got to 7 mana, slammed Toxrill. They lost very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And it's not even the best card in the set.
Exactly. So I don't want to read all of the different bombs because it's basically just reading the rare list, but yeah, it's
all of the black rares pretty much seem to make the cuts.
They're nuts. That leads us to removal. Back to the old grind of, man, it's really important to have removal in this set.
Yeah, and if you have, like, you have to be really sparing with your catch-all removal. If you have something that just destroys any creature, like let's say a Hero's Downfall, don't like slam it on a 3/3 to get in 2 points of damage, you know? Like,
yeah, because there will be the time where you need it later, and you're going to be so pissed.
Yeah, exactly. And this kind of reminds me of like old school Magic, because way back in the day, you used to have to save your removal because your opponent might drop like a 4/4, and then you'd have no way to beat him. So it's kind of like the modern version of that, and people have forgotten that because recent Magic has taught you just like be efficient with your mana, use your removal spell to clear things, and get the game over with. Because all the cards are so good that getting any kind of advantage just tends to snowball, and so using your removal aggressively has been good lately. But back in the day, it was like, no, you never use a Doomblade because your opponent could play like a random 5/5 for 7, and then you're out of luck. And so it kind of brings me back to that. People who didn't learn that lesson the hard way and then have to relearn it now have to like go back and learn, okay, stop using Hero's Downfall on a 3/3. You know?
Yeah. I definitely haven't learned that lesson, and I continue to have trouble.
Well, the other option is to blow your removal and then complain when your opponent plays a good creature.
Oh, yeah. That's so much easier.
Yeah.
I'm just going to do that.
Yeah. Just be like, nah, this wizard's so stupid.
Yeah.
Why do they make this creature?
Oh, the fucking wizards. And then I just crack another beer, and then I just have a nice pity party. Because, you know...
The next game, 2/2, Hero's Downfall.
Get the fuck out of here.
If it's the caretaker, though, it doesn't matter how many you stashed up. You're out of luck.
Exactly. You can try to get rid of the other creatures, and hopefully you have enough... They're a low enough life that you can get through, but...
Unless they pass the turn and flip it, and then you're...
Yeah, and then you're really screwed. But, yeah, it's rough. It's rough.
Don't worry about that card. If you lose to that card, you have a free pass to complain.
Exactly. Because what the fuck is that card? Anyway, as always, I don't want to get into it right now. But let's talk about some archetypes just so we can get through all of the ones, all 10 of them. And we decided it would just be best if we ranked these by 17 land standards so that, hey, somebody else ranked them and we can just talk about whether we think that those are good rankings or not.
Yeah, and so for people who don't know what 17 Lands is, it's this website that basically you can decide whether or not to share your data with it. If you do, then it'll get all this crazy data about like how many times you had this card in your hand and did you win those games, did you lose those games, and when it aggregates over tens of thousands of players and then even more matches, it starts to churn out these. You can get an enormous amount of statistics from it. So the ones we've just used here is which color pairs are from best to worst. I try not to use it too much at the start of a format. I like to develop my own opinions and then check them a little later when more data has built up and be like, oh, why do I think green blue is good and the data is suggesting that it's horrible? Then I have to rethink things, but I like to try and get my own takes from the first few weeks. But it's definitely useful to just know for our purposes here, which decks are so far statistically the best.
Yeah, for a couple of reasons. Well, one thing is that yes, at the beginning of a format, we don't have enough data, so it is confusing because it's not going to give you a really good picture of what's going on. It's just going to give you some statistics about players that are really good and just got 7-0, and then some players that didn't do so well, but you don't really have the same thing as you were saying if you have hundreds of thousands of games going on in matches. And number two, it's really fun to just make up your own opinions, right? And check them later.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's start at the top. The statistically, so far, best deck in the format. And we'll try to point out when things do or don't line up with what we've found. But this one definitely does. It suggests that black-red is the best color pair in the format.
Yes.
And that definitely matches with my experience as well.
I agree as well. Because removal is really important. Those are colors that have really great removal. Red specifically. No, I know, that's to be fair, black has really good just kill all.
Black has
all.
the -13 exile, which might be one of if not the best common, it's probably the second best one. It's just very good.
Bleed dry is very good, but I think so. This is the blood archetype, and so a lot of the cards care about blood and doing things with that. Jeff, do you think that's strong? Do you think the archetype is blood, or is it just good creatures with removal?
So I think it's both. I think blood is really strong. It's actually a deceptively powerful limited mechanic to the point where I don't actually know that you need any of the blood payoffs, really. Any of the cards that don't actually make blood themselves but pay you off for having it, I kind of think of those as just gravy. You really just want good, solid creatures in removal and then things that actually make blood. I thought about this recently when we were playing actually. If you have a blood token out, one way to think about that is that every card in your deck now has cycling 1.
Oh, okay.
And so when you put it into those terms, you're like, oh yeah, that's actually just pretty good. Cycling is already a really good limited mechanic.
Yeah, and you would play cycling cards even without cycling payoffs just because cycling is good to have. So
exactly, yeah.
I like that a lot, actually. Every single card has cycling 1. Oof, that makes it seem really strong.
Right? Now, you only get to use it once, so everything loses cycling once you cycle the first thing, but it's still...
That's true.
It is, you get to cycle whatever your worst card is.
Okay, all right. I think that's the best way I've heard anyone explain it. But yeah, so it's also really aggressive, which is nice. I always like being aggressive in
although,
limited.
I said, I just played Black-Red Control, which was all removal and Toxrill, and that also cleaned up pretty well. So
yeah, that's true.
When you get some of these black bombs, that's a reasonable deck avenue to take. Is just take all the removal and rely on my bombs to win me the late game.
Yeah, though I was lucky enough to someone played a Blood Vial Purveyor against me, and the next turn I just got to put Sigarda's Pacifism or whatever on it.
Ooh,
and so
nice.
it just sat there,
blood tokens.
and every time I played a spell, I got a blood token. I was like, "Oh, this is kind of nice. I like it, just staying around."
Your opponent's sitting there like, "Hey, you wanna exile this? You can pay 5 to exile.
You can get rid of it." I was like, "I only get 1 blood token that way. I'd rather just keep getting a bunch of other ones." So that was pretty fun. But yeah, for the most part, hey, good card quality.
And for me, that's almost actually a theme of this set. That's another reason, I said it feels kind of like old school limited, where the themes are less important than they have been in recent sets. Like recently in Midnight Hunt or in, well, any of the last few sets actually, it's all been about the best decks are the ones that are on theme and execute their like color pairs theme really well.
Yeah.
And in this format, I'm like, I just take good cards in the two colors with very minor synergy, kind of like how Limited used to be like 5 to 10 years ago. And that's been working almost better sometimes. Like if you try to hit certain themes too hard, you're making too many power, like individual card quality sacrifices.
Yeah, which we'll get to later when we start going down the list. But the next one on our list of 17 lands ranked color pairs,
I love to see this.
I'm so happy to see this. It is green-red werewolves. They are finally good. And it's mainly because the werewolves are just better. Like, their stats are better, they're better cards, and that's...
Because it's not the werewolf set anymore, so obviously the werewolves are better now.
Yeah, of course we're going to have Averbrook Caretaker in this set, not the last set. And it's going to be known as, like, the bombiest card, you know? It's just like, what is this about? But I think the other thing is that obviously the removal is slower and there's more conditions on it, and they don't have specific ones that are like, fuck you, it's nighttime, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, so really efficient removal is really punishing for the werewolf mechanic, because oftentimes you want to just pass, which puts you behind on tempo but flips all your cards. And then the ostensible bonus you're supposed to be getting from this is that your creatures are now better than theirs. But in the previous set, it was like, okay, kill your creature for 2 mana.
Yeah,
like, thanks for making it night and making my fucking removal spell awesome.
Like, turn on, yeah. Like, I couldn't play this before, now I can play it and make it day again.
Yeah. It was just a double whammy, because it was like, you made my removal efficient, which is what your deck is already weak to.
Yeah.
Is really efficient removal.
So, rough, but...
So, yeah. The removal's not quite as efficient in this set, and like you said, there's less just like, fuck you for making it night.
Yeah, exactly. But also there's some interesting stuff. There's like, there's a lot of these cool werewolves where I think they just like do better stuff. Like the Spells Matter werewolf is better, but it's good in the green deck because all your removal.
Oh, it's so much better than the previous one was.
Like, that's really strong. And then, like we said last episode, we're talking about the Gold Card Child of the Pack is really strong. And just like all these, like that one's actually a blocker. I feel like we didn't have a lot of good werewolf blockers in the last set.
Yeah, we'll get to it a bit later in, underrated, overrated stuff. But the 4/4, the green 4/4,
yeah,
that's just like a rock solid werewolf.
You're like, this is
that the last set could have used. But it's kind of interesting because the reason is that the werewolves are just better. That some of them, like, they're also going to be more contested. So even if you're the only werewolf drafter, like anyone who's drafting green wants Infestation Expert because that card is just phenomenal.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's like you're not necessarily going to get all the werewolves because the werewolves are good.
Yeah, that's really true. And also, I haven't played werewolves myself. And I've played against some decks, but for the most part, it really just feels like a red-green good creature deck.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if this lines up with my experience, the placement of this deck, because I don't think I've actually played against red-green.
Yeah.
But I've played a lot of the werewolves, like the Ballista guy, too.
Oh, God.
Is a really good red card.
That's a fucking great
I've just
card.
played against and with a lot of these werewolves, so I assumed, well, I think werewolves are actually good in this set. I don't know if the archetype was good, but I knew the cards were.
I don't know if it's specifically, like in the last one, right? Like, blood is part of that, but it's not the deck. Like, you're not, oh, I need blood or the deck doesn't work. This is the same thing with this, where it's like, there aren't really, there's like one card that cares about turning it, or turns it to night and like wheels your hand or whatever. One of the 2 cards in the set that wheel your hand for whatever reason.
Yeah, I know. Why are there 2? But
I don't know. Because I see that rare every draft. Like, come on, this one again? Great. But anyway, it's just like, in the last set we had the gold card that was like, oh, it's really important to turn it to night, and then a creature gets stronger and you can draw cards or whatever. And this one's like, no, these are just good cards, and you pay more, this one has flash, or hey, there's this card lets you play creatures from your hand, and if it's a werewolf, it untaps the creature, then keep doing that. So I think it's this set has some better pieces uh, to play cards even on your opponent's turn than the last one. So
Totally.
happy with that.
Right, up next, and this one definitely lines up with my experience in that I have gotten thrashed by this deck quite a few times, where it's just like, what just happened? Isn't it like turn 4? Why am I dead? And that's Boros Aggro. So red-white coming in at number 3 here.
Yeah, this was not on my radar at all. Like, zero. I liked red decks. I liked white decks.
Really, it seems like the first thing you'd try.
Yeah. For whatever reason, it wasn't. I was doing some other stuff and playing a lot more like black-red or trying to do white-black and a couple different things. And a friend of mine recently reached out and was talking to me, and she's playing Arena for the first time. Well, she's playing Arena for the first time, but getting back into Magic. And she was just telling me, like, I'm telling you, white-red aggro is where it's at. That's the best deck. It's so strong. I was like, meh, I don't know. And then last night, drafted like a 7-2 deck and very easily just steamrolled everybody. And the losses were like...
Except 2 of them.
Well, but the losses were like, yes, that was an unbeatable... I can't beat that card. But everything else was like, no, you don't have time to do anything. And I think it's kind of low on people's radar, strangely enough. Like, there's a lot of these good... Like the gold red-white card, the Vampire, the 1/3 for 4 with flying and haste, that gives 2 creatures +1/+0. Bomb. That card's awesome. And in that deck, you're just like, all these...
Markov Waltzer.
And he just comes out and just like slams people. And nobody's like drafting this for some reason. So I'm like, all right. Yeah, I'm pretty high on this now. And I would expect to see more of it as people start to catch on. This might be for me, felt like, why I'm not seeing it enough.
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying, for me, I just, I'd play a game, my opponent plays some random dorky 1-drop, I'm kind of laughing, okay, we got this one. And then next thing you know, I'm dead. I was like, oh, they curved out, whatever, That'll happen sometimes. And then a few games later, same thing happens, same dorky 1-drop, and then I'm just starting to think maybe they're onto something. And then the third game where I played red, there's one draft for some reason. I think all my losses, I went like 5-3 or 6-3, but all 3 were to red white. So then I was like, all right, we're gonna have to try this red white thing.
I should.
Maybe these dorky 1-drops aren't as dorky as I'm thinking they are.
Usually, I'm drinking a lot of beer, so I need to write down what my matches were so that I remember.
I remember my losses a lot of the time, but usually my wins, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Because a lot of the time your win is like, oh, they didn't really hit their 3rd or 4th land drop.
Yeah. Or oh, they didn't count the damage, and obviously I could swing out and kill them the next turn. Stuff like that. Anyway.
I guess that's the better way to say it. I don't remember any of the games that were won or lost due to, like, mana screw and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, none of that.
You're like, meh, why? It's not worth space in my brain. I have to be thinking about the next color combination, which is white-blue spirits auras. It's really like white-blue flyers with pump stuff.
Yeah. This is one of the places I was a bit surprised because I haven't found this deck to be that good. I know the value's built in. Maybe I'm just comparing it to last sets.
Where it was like almost probably the best or close to the best.
It was the best if it came together, but didn't quite come together as often as blue-black, so it's like debatable which one was better. But I had white-blue as the best deck. And so now I'm just like, I guess I had it as just okay, and I guess it's 4th out of 10, so that's slightly better than okay, or that's okay.
Yeah.
Maybe it is right, but I don't know. It's just been... It feels anemic if you don't have like that one uncommon. The white blue uncommon is really good, but a lot of the other stuff seems pretty medium. Yeah,
Brian Comer's good, but the other ones, like, I like all the creatures that die into enchantments, except for Bernice. Bernice is probably my least favorite. That's the grandma lady, but
I think she's like one of the best ones.
Really? 'Cause I think she's good, and
lifelink just helps so much.
I know, but I don't. The thing that kills me more when I'm playing against it is like, if I kill that double striker, that flyer is going to be a huge problem. It's like, okay, so I can't block the double striker. I can't block the flyer. How am I going to get through this now? And then like, okay, they have a 2/2, but if I block the 2/2 or I kill it when I attack, they're going to put it on their flyer, and now it's going to be like a 4-power flyer that might get double strikes sometime. It just becomes like, I think these aren't good, but then every time I play against it, I'm like, this is a really frustrating game where I can't actually attack into you as easily as I want because it just could make you hit so much harder.
You need to play more Flame Blessed Bolts, my man.
Well, no, because like the flyer I'm usually thinking about is the 2/3 for 4 that can gain lifelink.
Oh, well, that card's just pretty good, I think.
Yeah, well, that's a really good target to put these things on. Now, to be fair, I am naming only white cards, so you can play this form of the deck in red-white, but...
yeah. You could play Flame Blessed Bolt yourself.
That's true.
If you do that one.
But maybe other people are soaking up all that stuff, and you're going to play some blue stuff instead. I definitely don't think blue's great as a color.
So I will say for this deck that I thought Lantern Bearer was going to be pretty good coming into the format, and I think it's been really good in my just playing against it. That's the 1/1 that dies, and then it gives something +1/+1 and flying or whatever.
The key with that is that it gives it +1/+1.
I know. It's like, why does it also give it stats?
Because the other ones don't, right? Double Strike doesn't. Lifelink doesn't. The other one just strictly gives stats. So this one, like, I don't know what the other ones are off the top of my head. But it really seems like the +1/+1 becomes huge. And I don't know if that's just because I'm playing the standard deck that needs power and I'm not using this card. But like when I'm looking at stuff, I'm like, dang it, why is this so great?
Yeah, I think that Lantern Bearer card is just legitimately good.
Yeah, for sure. Especially because it makes the white-blue Flyers deck seem different since you can take like the crab thing or like other random shit that's like, oh, this will be a flyer later, you know?
But I even played it in blue-red, and it was like actually still good there because it was just a 1/1 that gets in for damage, and then later it's because all the spells stuff triggers off non-creature.
Yeah.
So the enchantment triggers it on the second way down too. So it gives you like a blend between creature and I guess a lot of the any of the blue cards that are enchantments on the backside also do this, but having a 1-drop early that does it later is very good.
I actually want to move into that deck now because that's the next one is the blue-red Spellslinger deck. But I have been really liking it because you have 2 different creatures that ping. Now, the werewolf is better than the 1/3 because obviously it flips into different stuff. But I had one draft where I had 2 of the werewolf and then 1 of the 1/3s, and I also had the Mirror Hall Mimic. And it is a weird situation where I was trying to copy one of my werewolves, but you have to try to copy it when it's on the backside because the Mirror Hall won't flip because there's no side to flip to.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I didn't think of a clone in a werewolf set.
So you have to clone the backside, and then it will never turn into the front side. It will always.
It just doesn't have
a front side. And so it just stays the werewolf.
Like it'll have Nightbound though, weirdly enough.
But it can't. It will never. It will check to flip, and it will never flip.
There's nothing for it to transform.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And same when that Mirror Hall Mimic dies, when you use its like enchantment thing to start copying something, copying that werewolf on that side. So every upkeep you get another 2/2 and another 2/2 and another 2/2 or sorry, another. It's a 4/4 that deals 2 damage. So that's why I'm thinking in 2s.
Right. Yeah.
But you get another one and another one, and they never flip back. It's just like
that's great.
It's pretty sweet. So I was having a lot of fun with that kind of shenanigans. Obviously, that's a rare, so it's not going to happen every time.
Oh, that's the dream there.
Yeah, but the fact that all of the Spellslinger stuff is non-creature is just that just really makes it so much better than the instants and sorceries thing.
And I like the 1/3 too. I mean, I've seen some people like posting decks where they had 5 or 6 of them as like pretty much their only creatures. I'm like, well, that's a little more all in than I was hoping to go. But
yeah,
I like the cut of your jib.
I think it's all right, but usually if it's like the creature that they play on me, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm fine.
Well, the thing is, the 1/3 just when your opponent's on the Throng Song plan, you just laugh at them.
Yeah, well, that's a terrible plan. We already know this. It's a horror. Throngs are horrible. We've all agreed this, haven't we? Yeah, it doesn't matter. Jeff, have you played the white-black life gain deck.
Yeah, let me take the next one. It has a few spots to climb here before it makes my prediction true.
Yeah.
I was just hoping this one came in the top half, so I didn't look like a total idiot. And of course, it came in sixth.
Yeah.
But yeah, white black life gain. I think this is kind of a more uncommon driven thing. Like there are a few cards that are pretty good, but like we're kind of talking about, the synergy doesn't matter as much as maybe we thought it was going to.
Yeah.
And so this just ends up being white black good stuff most of the time. And the black cards are really good, but I think white is, I have white like exactly middle, like the third best color.
Okay. Yeah, for sure.
And then black and red are the best two, I think. I think red's probably number one, but it's a little early.
And then green is 4 and blue is the worst.
Yeah, or the other way around. I don't know. I haven't actually played enough, but that would be my. I think if I had to rank them right now, that's what I would do. And so that puts white black as being pretty medium. It's like the second and third best color, and there's not a lot of synergy coming from this color pair, and so you're just kind of playing. Like it's still going to be pretty good, but just okay.
Yeah, I haven't. I played it. I think in the pre-release I was playing white black, but it wasn't the life gain version. It was just white black cards. So I did draft once, and I was hoping to do the life gain thing because I had a Markov purifier early, and then I ended up getting a second one. So I was like, oh, this is gonna be great. I'm gonna have a really good time. And then I was struggling through the games. Like I would have the purifier and I just wouldn't be able to gain life without trading a creature or losing a creature, just chump attacking into something, because it was all like, oh, this triggers on your end step, so everything that you gain life with tends to have lifelink, but then I'm gonna lose a creature to just draw a random card off the top of my deck, and I have to use 2 mana to do it. Or I have like the Heron, and the only way it gets a lifelink is by paying 2 mana, so I have to spend the whole turn to attack for 2, gain 3 life, and then draw a card. And it was just never doing it. Like,
yeah, which is why you need one of the ways to like that gains you life either consistently or without getting into combat. But the problem is in draft that I have with it is that those cards are just good, and so everyone wants them. Like anyone who's playing white wants the 1-drop that does that, which we'll get to. That's another card we'll talk about later. Or like the 2/3 Death Touch that exiles something and drains them for 2 is just a good card. So anyone playing black wants that too. And so you end up with these black-white piles of stuff with minimal ways to gain life outside of lifelinkers.
Exactly. Like it's a lot of the desperate farmers or whatever that card's called. Yeah.
Right.
And those kinds of things. And it's just not getting it, I've just, So I'm kind of off it.
I think usually if you end up in black-white, it's just going to be like you got some of the good white creatures and some of the good black removal, and you're happy enough with that
Exactly.
as your deck.
And hopefully you're gaining life because gaining life is good, but your game plan should not be your deck doesn't work unless you gain life. That's not a good plan in this set.
Exactly. We were talking about Courier Bat earlier, which you should just expect it to be a Windrake, and if it does more than that, then you're happy.
Exactly. Don't expect a ton unless you feel like trading, like, attacking in with a lifelinker, trading off, and then getting the lifelinker from the graveyard again. That's probably a really good situation for you. Otherwise...
Right, yeah, that's a nice little thing that can happen, but if it's turn 3 and you have no other play, you just roll out your Windrake,
Yeah, exactly.
You don't hold back for your life gains.
Because, that'll be better. So, this one... I have a story to tell about this one. I'm very excited to talk about this one.
Okay.
So this is the black-green Nicki Minaj deck. I mean, the Big Butts deck.
Black-green Anaconda Tribal.
Exactly. I named my draft deck Super Base because that's how I felt. And to be fair, up front, I didn't do very well. Okay, I went like 3-3. So it wasn't like a great deck. But when I set out to build this in draft, it was like pack 1, pick 1, the catapult fodder. I was like, okay, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna make this deck. So my deck was basically like 2 blood fountains, 2 mulch, 2 catapult fodder, 5 of the 113s, and then like
Oh my god.
and then I had 2 Edgar's Awakenings and a Flourishing Hunter. So basically the game plan was like turn 1 Blood Fountain, turn 2 mulch whatever into lands to play one of my 113s. And the whole time they're attacking me. And I'm like, okay, as long as I don't die by turn 6, I also I had like 2 or 3 of the enchantment that says like enchant a land, it taps for 2 mana, or a creature gets +2/+2. So it would be like turn 2 mulch, turn 3 ramp with that card into my tapped 113. And as I'm down to like 8 or 6 or whatever they've dealt damage to me, I hopefully get to play Flourishing Hunter either from my hand or from my graveyard, gain 13 life, and then maybe trade it off with something, bring it back from the graveyard again, gain 13 more life, and then stabilize with a bunch of 113s. And then I just started flinging. So I got to beat people just by, fling at their end step, untap, fling again. And it was just like dead. I'd
Take 26.
Take 26. And that was the entire deck. And it couldn't do anything else. It had nothing else it could possibly do besides win that specific way. And it was glorious. I just loved it.
That sounds great. I don't know. Yeah, like my one experience with this deck is I played against it. I think I stalled on mana. Like I missed my 3rd or 4th land drop or something. And my opponent had the 113 into the thing that makes it deal power equal to its toughness. And I conceded.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'm taking 13? Yeah, okay, I'll just concede.
I will not. Yeah.
I missed a land drop, passed the turn, and you attacked me for 13 out of nowhere. So I think
I'll just scoop it
up on this one.
But yeah,
I can't imagine that this deck is good.
No.
This seems even higher than where I would have guessed it was. But I guess black is just strong enough, maybe, that like this just ends up being,
I think what it is that it feels really terrible, but it is, if they have a bunch of it really hinges on the 113. Like that card is really important to the deck, and once there's 2 of those out, it's really hard to attack in if you don't have flyers. So flyers become extremely important against this deck, and then once it gets its thing, like once it draws the card to kill you, you're dead.
Well, I also wonder how much of this deck's win rate is coming from decks that were just good black cards and then some of the good green cards, like the 4/4s.
I'm sure that it's a lot of that too. I don't think it's all like, because the catapult fodder will just wheel. Like that's the reason I could try to get. I was like, let's go for it.
Yeah, like maybe if you have a great version of this deck too, then it would be hard to beat where you just kill flyers, block anything on the ground, and then you have late game inevitability. And also, black and green have some of the best rares in this set.
Exactly.
So I was wondering if that might be holding it up a bit as well.
That makes sense as well.
The old play 13 toughness things to stall the game out until you drop your unbeatable rare is not the worst strategy in the world either. So.
Hey, putting 2 +1/+1 counters on a 113 seems pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I don't have really any experience with this deck, but I imagine, like everything else so far, it's not super. Like if you do the big butts thing, that's awesome, and I want to try to do that if I can. But also, you could probably just be fine with playing good black and green cards.
I say the opposite. Play the Nicki Minaj deck and love it because it's so fun. Yeah. Do yourself a favor.
Saying you're saying it's all about the base.
No
trouble.
That's no. It's the wrong person. Get that fucking shit out of here. We're not talking about Meghan Trainor. I'm talking about Nicki Minaj. I'm talking about an artist here, not this fucking Meghan Trainor shit.
Oh, I didn't mean to offend
you. Offended me deeply. This is what you do. You sit down, put on pink print, and draft that deck and play it, and then you're gonna have an amazing experience.
Well, can I put on pink print after I already know I'm in that deck at least, or do I have to like go in blind?
No. It's like you have it queued up, and as soon as you pick like pack one, pick one, the gold card, the black green one or whatever, you're all right, here we go. And then every card's like, what's your toughness? What's your toughness?
And then every pick after that is based on which creature has the highest toughness.
Exactly. No, that's it. And some blood fountain and stuff. Those are helpful. And
maybe bleed dry or two.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to have a couple bleed dries. Why not? All right, let's keep it rolling with some trash. Let's late.
Yeah, we're in garbage tier now.
All right, it's garbage time right here.
And so
your opponent's up.
I'll take the next one.
Your opponent in football is up by like 25 points, and and they have the ball again.
These are the bench players coming out on the field.
Yeah, just garbage time. They're just like running out the clock. They're like waiting until the the snap counts.
LeBron doesn't even have his shoes on anymore.
Yeah, they're like talking to the coach. They're like chatting up with the refs. They get the ball. They move around for a second and then kneel. You know, it's
yeah. All right, so headliner of garbage time here is Blue Black.
Yuck.
Their theme is exploit. I talked about this a little bit last week. How I saw a ton of people playing Blue Black, and I thrashed it every time, and so this lines up exactly with what I was thinking. That Blue Black was overdrafted because it was arguably the best deck last format, but also is not good in this format.
It is
so
trash. It's trash. Like these ones at the bottom, I just kind of feel like, yeah, they're all the same.
And I'm sure there will be other content creators telling you Blue Black is good or misunderstood or something, because Blue Black just tends to be an archetype that good players will do better with than poor players. It's almost always true. And so it's like LSV might tell you that Blue Black is great, but that's actually just he's great. And he likes Blue Black, so he'll draft it and he'll win a lot because he's LSV. But
yeah, exactly.
Don't let him fool you.
Yeah. So the thing we were talking about earlier is that, hey, these kind of synergy decks aren't doing super well. Exploit is like the whole thing you're trying to do is like sack your own creatures to get benefits. And like your opponent's like, I don't know, attack you with 4 creatures and fuck you. Like you're just like sacking your blockers to get incremental value that's not doing anything. It's just not great.
I played a game earlier today where I was red black and my opponent had the 1-mana skeleton.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Into the blue black gold card that whenever you exploit something you make a zombie. Into the 3/2 that exploits to scry and draw a card, exploit the skeleton, make a zombie. Into the scorpion to exploit something else to make another zombie, draw 2 cards. I won so easily.
Yeah.
I still won that game really easily, and I decided not to Flame Blessed Bolt their 2/2 that makes zombies when they exploit, because I was like, this will come, like, I'll just be able, I don't care. I don't care that you're making 2/2 zombies when you sack a different creature. Like, you replace the creature you're sacrificing.
You sacrifice a real creature, usually. Like, it's usually...
Oh, it has to be, yeah. Other than that 1/1 skeleton, which I thought about throwing the bolt at and didn't. And I was like, I should have bolted
just exile that thing, yeah. That would have been good. But yeah, it's just... It's not great. I haven't been happy with it. I tried it a couple times and I was like really upset. Actually, no. I tried it once. I hated it. And every time I play against it, I'm like, whatever. So...
Yeah, I'm just not high on exploit. I don't know if you have the time to do it, nor is it like worth it when your opponent, like, I feel like generating a blood token is pretty close to
making a 2/2.
Some of the advantages that these exploit cards are making.
Yeah.
But I just get it for free on cards that are already
good. Yeah, I don't have to get rid of a creature. It's we were 2 weeks ago, I think we were talking about how we were excited for exploit, and I am just like so not happy.
Yeah, I'm off it until it like comes back up a bit. Now I do like the blue guy that
draws you a card.
Like the guy that puts something on top or bottom of your library
that's annoying.
When he exploits. I think that guy's pretty good.
That one's annoying.
So there are a few exploit cards that are decent. I still like the Scorpion, like make a 3/2 Death Touch and draw 2 cards is solid.
Yeah.
But we're talking about uncommons here, So,
yeah. And you can play that in your vampire deck. So get rid of one of your 1/1s.
I still play the Scorpion in any black deck.
Yeah, because like you play that against your like Epicure of whatever, and you're like, sick. I get rid of my stupid 1/1 that doesn't do anything anymore, and draw some cards. And
I'd play top of library guy in any blue deck probably. So.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just play a blue-black deck. Don't think of it as an exploit deck. That gold card really fucks you. I think there's a couple gold cards that are like, hey, kill yourself, kind of. Like, you're going to
go all in on
you're
this.
You're going to ruin your draft.
Trust
me. You're going to ruin your draft. It's going to be great.
He's like the player that bets against his own team.
Oh gosh. So these last ones, we have white green training, which has been just so teeny tiny, is what it feels like.
Yeah, the training never really works, does it?
Because you can't
it's
attack. You can't.
a lot of the time, you have to like chump attack to get the training to even happen.
Yeah, which means that like the best training creature is the one and a white for the 1/2. That when they die, they put their counters on something because you can use the counters for something. Like that's the best one. I'm like sick. I'm gonna chump attack. They block here. I put the counters on the flyer, and then I'm like sick. Now I have something to do.
I still think that card sucks.
I don't know. Like of the training cards, I'm like, at least this does
I think
something.
the good one is the flyer because it's just like a 2/2 flyer that happens to have training. It's like, all right, if I get a counter on this, I'm happy.
Yeah.
If I don't, I'm still okay.
Okay, yeah, for sure. Sorry, I meant as far as like when you're chump attacking because it sucks to chump attack.
Oh yeah.
It's like this is the one I wish I had if I'm going to chump attack. All the other ones are like I spent way too much mana playing this thing and it's so small and like it doesn't get bigger unless it attacks. And I'm at the point in the game where I'm not getting. I can't do anything.
I was surprised to see green white second bottom, but it has been underwhelming for sure.
Yeah.
I didn't know I hadn't moved all the way this down on it yet. But I guess it's time to just think of green white as like a terrible deck.
Yeah, because like the gold card is really good though.
Yeah, I know.
But it's like
and I just and we talked last week about how green white is always just at least okay.
Exactly. And then like somehow it's just not in this one. I think it's just the straight attacking thing is maybe attacking to get counters with the mentor and the training thing just doesn't. It's not great.
Some of the cards just feel a bit like they could have been pushed harder.
Yeah, it really does put strength in your like 2 mana 3/1s though. It's like if you have the 2 mana 3/1s become really important, I think, because you will easily have a high power with all your training shit and be able to train onto them. But yeah,
But then you just get blocked by throngs all day, and
I don't get blocked by throngs anymore. Oh gosh. Anyway, let's just finish the last one. Our classic.
This makes me so happy.
This is our classic. Even if it was higher up on the list, I would have put it where it is right now.
Yeah, it's always at the bottom.
It's always
Could be the number one deck according to win rates.
Yeah,
I'd put it last.
We put it last because fuck this color combination.
So of course we're talking about green, blue, and wwhat's their theme, Zach?
I don't know. I don't fucking know. Do you know?
I don't know. I actually can't really figure.
There's nothing like they don't do anything. It's just the classic like good things, I guess. Let's see what their gold card.
It's like self-mill, I guess.
Maybe
because that's what the uncommon does. But then it's just like there's no real reason to self-mill.
Yeah, it's like especially in those colors, right? Oh, maybe you'll get blue. You can put an aura on your opponent's creature that gives them -2/-0 or something. Is that the?
You could put an aura on one of your. You could put the lantern bearer on a creature so that it can train your other creature that has.
Oh, for sure, yeah, and then that makes sense.
Yeah, I did okay with green blue once because I was just forced into it because they were both wide open, and so that was just raw card quality. But even during that, I was like, I just lost to some decks because I was green blue.
Yeah,
and I was like, my cards are so high quality, like everything's an uncommon, and I'm still losing.
Yeah,
because it sucks. Green blue.
So anyway, those are the list that 17 Lands has. Take this information as you will, because hey, people are going to be looking at this and kind of drafting depending on what they think is the best ones. It will benefit you if you realize that maybe this information is skewed a little bit, and you can, maybe your white-black deck is going to be much stronger because people aren't on those colors.
Yes,
on those
please
things.
go out and draft white-black and win a lot with it. Let's get this thing moving up this ladder.
You want to take a shot? Is it?
I want to at least be right that the deck was good.
Yeah, well, right now I think it's just going to go down. Just kidding. No, it's probably going to stay in the same place and just be kind of there.
That's just because I'm going to draft it a lot to try to fix this.
Sure. I mean, like, whatever.
Then it's going to tank.
Anyway, Jeff, it's been a long chunk, so let's go to a beer break.
Let's do it.
This beer break is brought to you by our patrons over at Patreon.
That's right. It's the best way to support this show since, well, no company wants to sponsor us. But luckily, Our listeners do.
And when you become a patron, you get an exclusive invite to our after party, which is a mini episode recording immediately after this one where we ramble about just other things that are not magic related.
Plus, you get to vote on which one of us you like more by buying me a beer.
Or buying me a beer. So go to patreon.com/arena regulars to vote for your favorite host right now, or today, or sometime today, at some point.
Please.
Okay.
Ready for some midnight magic.
And this...
that would make a good YouTube series. Just whenever we're drinking and playing at night, just record it, call it Midnight Magic, and throw it on YouTube.
I think that sounds great. Let's... you heard it here first, folks. That's what we're going to do. Or at least, if we ever do that, we're going to call it that.
Yeah, I love committing to that, too, because now I actually have to figure out how video editing software works.
Sweet. So I'm this Viaduct. That's how you say it, right? Viaduct IPA?
I think so.
I'm excited
and
for this one.
That's based purely on, that's how I said it, so.
I like that. I'm all for that. All right, Jeff, let's jump back into some magic stuff.
Yeah, so one thing I thought was cool, the idea came to me earlier today where I was drafting, and there are just, especially early in a format, there are so many cards that are going outrageously late. Like we're talking like 10th pick plus that I think should be in the first 5 picks, or the other way around where like somebody's playing a card in their deck that I think should be something you pick in the last 5 picks. Mm-hmm. Now that doesn't mean that I'm right, but it's always just fun to like talk about that kind of stuff.
Oh, so. Absolutely. And it's great because I think we may have some differing opinions, possibly. No, for the most part, we tend to agree. But you're right. It's fun to see, especially now because we're capturing this moment, and draft will change drastically after people listen to this episode and learn all about drafting.
Exactly, but you'll have a day or two where you can clean up.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Jeff. So we're kind of going in Woolberg order of just like some cards we think in these different colors that we think are going maybe a little too late. You should pick them up a little bit earlier because they're really good.
Yeah, so we just picked like a couple from each color here, and so let's start with white. This card I think is actually just good, and nobody seems to be taking them, at least in my drafts, and that's Traveling Minister. So that's the 1-mana 1/1 that taps to gain a life and give a creature +1/+0 until end of turn. Now, you can only activate it as a sorcery. That's the only downside.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it'd be busted.
Yeah. So this one is one that I also want to hear your reasoning behind because I am a person who doesn't take this card. So, Jeff.
Yes, as was I, but this was one of the dorky 1-drops I referred to earlier in the old Boros deck. This thing gets in for so much damage, and then the 1 life actually ends up mattering. I think it just ends up being good enough in every white deck because in like white-blue, you're pumping a flyer, and it makes it very hard to race. In white-red, you're just pumping up something so that it can attack. Like if I pump up a dorky 1/1, you still don't want to trade your 2/2 for that. Like that's really annoying. And then in white-black, you obviously want this because it gains life on its own. Like you don't even have to use this +1/+0. You just use it to gain life.
Yeah, like we were saying before, it's a way to gain life without actually doing any combat, which is great.
And then in white-green, it can help you turn on training when you wouldn't have ordinarily actually had the ability to do that. So it just ends up being like good enough in every color pair, and I see it occasionally, but I see it go really late, and for me it's just kind of slowly climbing up my pick orders of every white deck I play. I think I just want like a couple of these in every white deck.
Yeah, I like this. It also has, again, a fun interaction with the Heron of Hope, which a friend had pointed out to me, where if you put it on the Heron of Hope, you gain the life immediately, and then you attack with it and gain more. It's just kind of a nice little...
So you gain like 6 life or something?
Through that swing, it's like an 8-point life swing or something, the way that you're hitting with that...
So you gain 2 from this, and then you attack for 3 lifelink +1, so you gain 6.
Yeah. So anyway, it's quite the card.
And if I'm advocating for this card, there must be something there because this is not the type of card I would pretty much ever play.
Yeah, Jeff hates 1-drops, so Sorry, one drop.
That's right, and I'm recommending multiple one drops in this little segment here.
Yeah, so I don't know if I agree with your second one either. This is so interesting because it is funny looking at these white cards, and I'm talking about how much I like white, but then there's so many of the commons I don't like. But Nurturing Presence is the card.
Yeah.
So it's
so this one I have a specific thing for.
Okay.
You can go ahead and read the card, and then I will have to explain myself because this card reads extremely poorly.
Yeah, so it's the 1 and a white for the aura that when it enters the battlefield, it creates a 1/1 flying spirit, but also the creature that is enchanted with it gets +1/+1 for each creature that entered the battlefield this turn.
Yeah, so this was one of those cards that just seemed to do enough for my opponents. Like, it just swung the race enough to put this on like a flyer and then have a chump blocker back. And that happened to me a couple of times in a row. So I was like, I feel like I'm just kind of getting unlucky, but why are my opponents playing this card or whatever? Because this is one of the ones that I immediately write off. Like, because early in a format, you have to just get rid of some cards from your consideration because you don't have time to consider all 15 cards. And so you use prior experience to do that. And this was one of the cards I was completely overlooking. So I did actually decide to saunter on over to 17 lands. And apparently this is currently ranked like the 4th or 5th best white common.
What?
I know. So I was just like, I lost it a few times, and I was like, am I crazy? Let me go check 17 lands. And then it was confirming that I'm crazy somehow. So anyways, this is something people might be undervaluing. I don't know. It's a 1/1 that gives you some other upside.
It's a 1/1 if you already have a 1/1, and I like it on flyers,
or
maybe
any creature, but yeah, like you don't really play it on curve that often, I guess.
No, but like if you draw it late and you need a blocker and you don't have any creatures, it isn't a creature. But
correct, yeah.
I still need to be proven on this one because
this card was like a 55.6 like win rate in hand or something. It was unbelievable to me. But then I was like, but I checked this to confirm my bias basically, and it did not do that. It actually reneged my bias again.
Interesting, because every time my opponent like puts it on one of their creatures, I'm like, sweet, look at this awesome like juicy target to blow up or whatever, or like, oh, this is not going to do anything. You're never playing enough creatures that it like actually gets pumped up.
Yeah, it's partly the enchantment theme. I don't know, but this one was a bit tenuous. I just wanted to explain that I lost it a couple of times. Went to check 17 lands, which then asserted that it was good, and I was very confused. But I'm open to the possibility that this card is better than I think it is.
This next one is Lantern Bearer. We talked a bit about this earlier in the episode. Just having a blue 1-drop again, Jeff, with the 1-drops.
I know there's a lot of 1-drops on this list that I'm
right. It's just one of those things, but it just turns out to be really great. Hey, giving flying +1/+1 after you already had a 1/1 creature is pretty nice.
Yeah, so this one I knew was going to be pretty good, but I think it's better than I thought, and I see people passing it pretty late, and it's like, I don't know, this might even be the best blue common. Now it's partly because blue sucks a little bit, but it's also because this card's pretty good.
Yeah, that's really true. But I do like the next card because I haven't seen very much of this, and I've been thinking about this card. I play around this card a lot, and I feel like I never see it on the field. Because I know it's there, so I'm like waiting for someone to get me with it, and it never happens.
Right, so this is Siphon Essence. It's 2 and a blue, counter target creature, planeswalker, spell, create a blood token. This will be one of those ones that you're going to like move it up in your ranking, and then it's going to be a bit overplayed, and then everyone's going to play around it. And then you should move it accordingly down in your rankings, right? Like it should ebb and flow a bit with whether people just walk right into it or not. But I just wanted to kind of bring up that this has been very good for me, and part of it is what we were talking about earlier, that blood is a lot better than I think most people realize. And so that is that's a good rider on a 3-mana counterspell.
Yeah.
And you almost always just want to be creating like countering creatures anyways. Like this is not a big downside that it only counters creatures.
Exactly. And
I like that it's turning that creature into blood. That's kind of cool.
Oh, that is cool. I didn't even think about that. Ugh, yuck. But let's keep moving on to black. These ones, the first one didn't get me too much. This card just seemed great the whole time. And I've seen it on the battlefield enough. Though it does randomly wheel, and I don't.
That was my thing, right? I was drafting even earlier today, and I got this. I picked something else over it in what I thought was a close pick in like pick 3 or like 4 or 5, say, and then it came back all the way around. I was like, well, all right, I guess I'm just slapping this in the deck.
That's crazy. This is Blood Crazed Socialite. So it's 3 and a black for the 3/3 vampire with menace, and when it enters, you get a blood token. But also when it attacks, you can sacrifice a blood token, and it gets +2/+2. So this is like on turn 5, like a 5/5 menace. And it's just
Right.
I don't know. It's still 3/3 menace is
Yeah, this card's a house, right? Like 3/3 menace, create a blood token is for 4 is already something you would play.
yeah. Even if you use the blood for something else and not to give it to this creature, that's fine.
Right.
3/3 menace is
Yeah.
good. Like
For sure, yeah. 3/3 menace blood token for 4 would already be a good comment.
yeah.
And we were talking earlier that you don't necessarily need blood token payoffs, but this comes with the blood token itself, so it's already like that's already fine. If this had even just had no other blood tokens in the deck, it attacks for 5 menace once and then 3 for the rest of the game. That's good.
Yeah. Or it attacks for 3 the first time, and then you have to see whether.
Oh
they're
yeah,
gonna-
and you decide to use the blood
Blood.
token for something else.
or use it for a later turn, so they're freaking out. I don't know. I'm happy.
right, threat of activation. kind of thing.
Exactly. Just on another turn, it won't really do it later, but like, I like it. I think it's a good card. It's always really frustrating when turn 4 I see my opponent play this. I'm like, "Yeah, God damn it! Like, what am I supposed to? I'm gonna like take 5 or something or
Especially when you've like committed to racing them or something, and
Yeah,
they're like
and you're like,
this. Like, oh,
oh
okay. Well, I didn't realize you'd have a 5/5 menace. Like,
Yeah.
I can't race a 5/5 menace.
don't let this go around the table so much. Black is really good. I don't know.
That's the other
this
thing. I
card.
have a hypothesis. I think people are turned off by the fact that you can't like sack the blood token as a combat trick. Like you have to declare it when you attack, so you can't like wait for them to block and decide if you're going to use it or not. But you have to understand if that's how it worked, this card would be busted.
It would be a rare.
So,
Like
yeah, it'd be like that's insane. So don't hold that against it. Like think of it as 3/3 menace, make a blood token with upside.
Yeah,
which is
it's strong.
crazy.
And this next card is another one that I felt pretty low on until I read it correctly. I think. I just like read the card another time.
Yeah, after I read it, I was like,
Oh, this is good. Why did I think this was not good? Because it is good. So Jeff, what is this card? It's my favorite thing at the wedding. Probably, I would be close to this.
yeah, we were hovering around this the whole time. I think.
Yeah.
Just waiting for it to top up and then move the glass. This is Blood Fountain, so it's the 1-mana artifact that makes a blood token when it enters the battlefield, and then later on you can pay 3 a black and tap it, sacrifice it to return 2 creature cards from your graveyard to your hand.
So 2 is big because I literally played my entire freaking Nicki Minaj deck with this card and only picked 1 creature each time I returned stuff to my hand.
You even have to click like select just one or whatever.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, okay, that's all I can get. I thought it was just telling me I should pick more. I only did that. I still, I don't know if the games would have gone differently if I knew that this card was better than it is. But again, read cards at sorcery speed when they're new.
Yeah.
It's really helpful.
But you can activate this at instant speed, which it also feels like something you shouldn't be able to do.
Yes. I also think just 1 mana, get a blood token. Any card that says that is good.
Yeah, so that was the other thing I was going to say. When I first read this card, I assumed it couldn't be activated at instant speed because that's the way they've been making these types of cards recently. And B, just undervalued that 1 mana make a blood token is actually a pretty solid turn 1 play.
Yeah, that's a great turn 1 play. Like just having blood on the battlefield is like, sweet, this is good.
And like any additional stuff on, like, I don't think you would play 1 black mana, make a blood token, and nothing else. It's a sorcery or whatever. But you don't need that much more to play it. So if it gives you any kind of battlefield presence at all, you're happy.
Yeah. This card has been skyrocketing up my rankings. I'm a big fan of it. So
Oh yeah, this card is like demoralizing when your opponent plays it because you just know you're gonna have to slog through so much to like win this game.
exactly. Like I guess you like. Are you gonna abrade a blood fountain? Like no. It just maybe like at some point, but it would suck.
Yeah, I could see it happening.
Yeah.
Otherwise the abrade's gonna kill one of the two creatures it gets.
That's true. You're right. Okay, that does make sense. But let's move on to red, Jeff, because this next one is one you've just been talking about the whole time, and
Yeah. All right, so we got to put in. This is Flame Blessed Bolt. Now I know what you're thinking. I think Flame Blessed Bolt is good. It's better than you think it is because I'm getting these like middle of the pack, man.
this is first
That's
pickable.
insane. This
Like,
is the best common in my opinion right now. I think it's close with Bleed Dry or whatever. But I would, if I was forced to right now, I think I would take this in pack one, pick one because I like red slightly better. But it's like crazy close because both colors are good.
yeah.
Why do I have red decks that have 3 or 4 of these? Like,
And it's so true because I also run into them constantly being like, do I take this Flame Blessed Bolt or I really need this creature? I already have 2 Flame Blessed Bolts. I guess I'll take the creature. Okay, next pack, Flame Blessed Bolts right there. Okay, sweet. Wow.
why is nobody taking this card? Do they not know that it exiles?
It's so good. Like, yes, exiling, like it hits almost all of the freaking enchantment aura creatures. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like most of them are 1 toughness, besides Bernice, and then I don't know. It's a great card. 1 mana kill
so-
stuff. Good.
I know you know it's good, but it's better than
It's
that,
better.
folks.
Don't let it go past you. Like
Like even when we did our draft, the blue-red one, we had 3 of these or something, and we were just like, every game, we're just like, this is awesome. It was so relevant that it exiled it there.
yeah, it's like this is so important. Let's just keep doing this. That's great. But I'm excited for this next one because I know you specifically were really low on this. And I was kind of like playing around with. I was like thinking, I don't know, it could be okay. Turns out it's pretty great, and I like it a lot. This is Voldaren Epicure. It's a single red mana for a 1/1 vampire, and when it enters the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to each opponent, and you create a blood token. 1 mana, create a blood token.
Yeah, there's obviously a theme to this list. Blood is awesome, and like cheap ways to make blood tokens are just going to be good. And this does just enough more. And you know, if you draw it in the late game, you could probably just loot it away to your blood token. So that you have lying around. So, or you sacrifice it if you have some exploit creatures or whatever.
Yeah.
This card is just good. Like I think the crazy thing about this card is that it's constructed playable. So that tells you how good blood tokens are too. This card is good. I lost to it a bunch of times, then started taking it myself, started winning more, and so I just have to admit that this card is good. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's great. The 1 damage it deals to your opponent is relevant. Through some board stalls and different things, like you need that every once in a while. I'm happy. Put more in my decks.
It's just it always does enough. Like a body is good, the blood token is good, the 1 damage, like you say, it comes up. The fact that it's a vampire matters. Like just everything comes together on this. This is a lot for 1 mana.
Yep, that's great.
And I still see them like last pick, so I don't think everybody's quite caught on.
They are not. Jeff, do you want to talk about the green cards that we're getting into?
I do. So this one is, I think I'm just going to have to keep harping on this every time because I saw some stuff in the community that's like surprised that this card is good, and I don't think we were surprised. And a similar thing happened with Shadow Beast Sighting in the last set. You know, we had it super high coming in, and then everyone else said it sucked, and then by the end of the format agreed it was probably the best green common. But that is Hookhand Mariner because people constantly underrate 4/4s for 4, and that's what this is. It's a 4/4 for 4, but it's the werewolf, so it flips into a 6/4 that can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. Is that right?
Yeah. Which means it's, you can't have 2 2/2s chump block it or like double block it to kill it. They have to trade like 3 3s, which sucks for them.
So that text line is also perennially underrated.
Yeah.
Like people are always like assume it's flavor text, and it's really, really not. like no chump blocking is also relevant too. Not even just double blocking. Like if you're racing, you cannot chump block their 6/4. You have to put a real creature in front of it.
Yeah, it's big because a lot of people are high on like the wedding invitation, which is the one that spits out a bunch of 1/1s and then pumps your whole team later. And then you have all those 1/1s that chump block stuff. You can't do that against this. So even when you get your Anthem effect, it doesn't do it. So this card's good.
I've been high on this card since the beginning, but nobody else seems to. And I've had decks where I have like 4 of these because just nobody takes them. And I still think they're good. So, I haven't been convinced that I'm wrong yet from taking. But like everyone always just assumes a 4/4 for 4 isn't good enough in limited. And I think a 4/4 for 4 would already be a medium common in limited. And any sort of upside I'm more or less happy with.
Yeah, we are literally talking about how this set feels like an old Magic set where a 4/4 for 4 is unbeatable. So having something like that is like...
I remember M13 or something. There was 4/4. There was a 4/4 for 2 green. And I think that was like... It was between that and Llanowar Elves as the best common in the set.
Like, that's crazy. Like...
Yeah. Or, well, for green.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know
yeah. But like...
What made Llanowar Elves so good is that you could play that on turn 3. You were like, oh, then I can play my 4/4 on turn 3, and I could never possibly lose.
Yeah. So there you go. A card that's good with the Hook Hand Mariner is the card I decided to add to this list because I wanted Jeff to be really uncomfortable about it. But I think it's actually really good. And this one goes around forever and I don't see it played a lot, but it's also just not like picked ever. But Massive Might, which is the single green mana for an instant, target creature gets +2/+2 and gains trample. I think this card's great because the trample is huge. I think that there's a lot of like big stuff that doesn't have trample, and this is a 1 mana way to either blank their removal spell if it's red, or win the game.
I gotta say you got me again. This was one of those cards that I just saw it was a 1 mana green pump spell and assumed it sucked, and I didn't really read what it did. I think this is generally better than Giant Growth, and Giant Growth used to be an absolute staple limited card, like really high pick. Well, not really high, but like high pick, in the first few 5 picks.
Yeah, 1 mana +2/+3, that's great. But 1 mana +2/+2 and trample? Usually trample is the thing that you need the most because you have this giant fucking thing and you can't get it through these stupid 2/2s and 1/1s or whatever. This is what helps you get through.
And it was rare that you ever needed all 3 toughness from Giant Growth. That was pretty rare. Or all 3 power.
Usually it's...
And so this I think is better.
I think it's better as well. Blasphemy. I love Giant Growth. But Massive Might, I'm big on it. I love the snail picture as well. But just think about it. The amount of times you like get into a situation where it's like, I need to win this combat, and this is one of the best ways to do it. So, love this card. And it just wheels forever because everyone just writes off combat tricks. So
yeah, this one is worth it, I think, because the investment's so low. It reminds me of, what was the red one that gave trample, and that one ended up being pretty good? Run Amok?
Yeah, Run Amok.
That was 2 mana.
And that was like one of the best cards in Kaldheim, right? Like you wanted to play Run Amoks in your Kaldheim deck. It's like, well, now we have Run Amok for a single green. So look at that.
Yeah, I'll give it to you. This card is probably pretty underrated because I just see this snail art going around super late all the time. And hey, maybe that's what green decks are missing. It's just a Massive Might or 2.
Hey, also, pre-combat Massive Might, you can do all your training shit. So there you go.
Yeah. Or if they try to like bleed dry your 12/12, you could protect it with Massive Might.
It will be relevant when your 113 becomes non-bleed dryable. So look at that. How crazy? How fucking crazy would that be if somebody tries to bleed dry your 113 and you play Massive Might and they can't do it? That'd be amazing. Okay, new limited goal. I want to play my Nicki Minaj deck, and I want to play Massive Might on my 113.
I really hope you pull that off. But I'll be watching from the sidelines.
Oh, God. This is going to be such a shit deck till it works out.
I don't know if the defensive deck wants the +2/+2 trample.
All right, so I'm going to attack for 1, and then it gets +2/+2, but you will never be able to trade off enough creatures to kill it or whatever. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Let's go to are overvalued cards. These are ones that are being picked like way too much, or people just pick too early. Like, it's not as good as you think it is.
Right.
You can let these go around for a while.
It's just cards that I've seen on the other side of the battlefield at a much higher clip than I really should be seeing them.
Or you expect them to wheel just because you think you're going to see them again, and you don't. You're like,
Right.
did someone really take this? Okay, whatever.
Over like the blood crazed socialite.
Yeah,
that
and
we
you're like,
talked
what
about
the
earlier,
Yeah.
What happened? Let's start with our white one. And again, it doesn't mean the cards are bad, right? It
Yeah.
just means like most people seem to be taking them too high. And so I got to start with Perish Blade Trainee here. I know he's your boy. This is the 2-mana 1/2 with training. When it dies, you put its counters on target creature you control. I think this is mostly just tied to the fact that the training deck is bad. And so if you don't get the training thing going, this is a 2-mana 1/2.
Yeah.
Which is awful.
No, the thing about this is that I agree it's being picked too high. The training thing is bad. And the only reason this card is playable is because it had that second text. If it was a 1/2 for 2 with training, you cannot play this without it. When it dies, you get to put the counter
But
somewhere
even
else.
that, like a lot of the best removal in the set exiles too. So like I had a game where my opponent had this as a 2/3 and attacked, and I was able to block with my 1/3 and then Flamed Bless Bolt it, and then it's like, okay, you don't get your counter now. Or you can Flame Bless Bolt it in response to the training attack, which happens pretty often. And a lot of the time, like we were saying earlier, their training attack was a little bit suspect because they just wanted to get the counter on this thing. You're like, cool, Flame Bless Bolt that in response, and then take an easy block on your other attacker. It's just that type of stuff happens too often.
Yeah. It's right. Yeah. This card goes super early. Doesn't need to go that early.
Yeah, I like never see it in the draft, and I always see it on the other side of the battlefield, and I'm never concerned really.
Yeah.
Get 14. You could get like 10 counters on it. I'll just still hit it with Bleed Dry, and let's go nowhere.
Yeah, that's really true. Next one we're jumping to. You know what it is. It's a blue card. It is Wretched Throng. All right.
Yeah.
I was pretty high on this card. Not high. I was really excited about this card. I didn't think it was going to be very good, but I thought it'd be really exciting. It's not exciting. It's really boring, actually.
It's a bunch of 2/1s.
It's just the 2/1 for 2 that dies, and you get another exact copy of it. The art is cool, I guess, because they're throwing up themselves. But besides that,
Is that cool? I find it really gross.
well, it's gross, but it's like interesting, maybe. I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's no good. It's not good.
So I think one thing about this card so I've played so many games against this card, and the reason I had to put it in is like I've had my opponent chain like 4 or 5 of them together, and I've still won.
Yeah.
Because you just have a bunch of 2/1s.
Exactly.
Like, and you're actually spending the mana to cast it. You're talking about it like it's free. If it went onto the battlefield, that's a whole other story. But this goes into your hand, and you have to cast it.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, it felt like they were doing that over doing something good.
It's not good. It's not good. I don't like it.
And I think people aren't realizing that they sacrificed some of their draft for it. Like, they're like, oh, I had 5 in my deck, and it was awesome. It's like, what would your deck have looked like if you didn't take so many fucking Wretched Throngs, though? You probably would have had better cards in it.
Yeah. Exactly.
So it hits you both in the games as not being that good, and in the draft as being something you had to, like, plan or, like, take a whole side road of your draft to accomplish.
Sweet. Let's move on to black, because we have 2 different cards. I think you are right that the black cards are really strong. So for the most part, I'd never really see a black card where I'm like, that card's not good though. Or
So the thing is, the bad black cards, there's like 3 or 4 of them, and they're really bad, and nobody plays them, so I couldn't really put them as overvalued.
yeah.
And then all the other ones are at least fine. But I put Dread Fugue here just because a couple of people have hit me with Dread Fugue, and it's like, I don't think you should be playing this card really in limited. I understand that it's like Thoughtseize isn't even particularly good in limited,
Yeah. It's just,
and this is really bad Thoughtseize basically. So
it's not great. I haven't seen this ever cast, so I just see it in the draft and never pick it. So that's my thoughts with that. Although I think that Gift of Fangs is really highly picked, and I'm starting to pick it lower now, because mainly that I think black-red is the best deck, and vampires are really strong. And so if you're playing a removal spell that's supposed to kill small creatures, but the best fast decks are vampire decks, it doesn't do what you want it to do. It ends up being better as your aggro card that makes your 1/1 into a 3/3. That's how I've used it more. Where I'm thinking it's a removal spell in my hand, and then when I'm playing the game, I'm like, oh, I should just put this on my flyer, and then my flyer's better. And I'm like, oh shit, I forgot that my fly it's a vampire. So
that's the old like double timeout, have obvious lethal in the air.
Exactly. They're like, oh,
double timeout, like make my flyer lethal,
kill you. So it's not so much that I don't think you should continue to pick this card. I think it is good. I just don't think it's the removal spell you think it is. And know that when you start to get into later in your wins, when you're up into like 5 through 7, it might not be usable as a removal spell. Just think of that.
Yeah, so it works both ways with the vampires thing, right? Where, yeah, it's bad against vampires, which is the best deck, or black-red is the best deck, we're just going to have vampires. And also, it goes the best in vampires, but vampires has access to the best removal and probably doesn't care about this. Like, you would rather play Flame Blessed Bolt over this for sure, even in vampires.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I think it's probably like fine if you didn't get a ton of removal. You just pick one of these up and hope it gets you there. But I think it's a totally mid-pack card.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be like this sweet dead weight first pick kind of. Not even first pick, but you know what I mean. Like it's just
right. It did look like dead weight with upside for a second there, which is like that's first pickable. But this card is I don't think first pickable.
And if vampires weren't as strong and fast, maybe, or if there were enough 1-drops that weren't, or the early aggressive creatures weren't vampires, maybe, but no, not in this format for sure.
Okay, so for my next cards people are overrating in red, this one's just for you. You're the only one that's overrating it. Everyone else knows it's bad, but it's Ancestral Anger.
Okay,
one mana sorcery. Let me read the card. Okay.
All right. Sorry.
Yeah. 1 mana sorcery, guys. Sorcery. Target creature gains trample and gets +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is 1 plus the number of cards named Ancestral Anger in your graveyard. Draw a card. So it gives a creature +1/+0 and trample at sorcery speed until end of turn.
Yeah, well, why would I need trample when it's my opponent's turn? So the reason that I like this card...
It's when they chump block, then you do it.
I like this card because it is a 1-mana cantrip. In the blue-red spells deck, I was enjoying it as just like a card that like usually dealt my damage or dealt my opponent 1 and I drew a new card. I haven't been able to... There are enough people that like this card. I think you're wrong. I think people do like this card. There are enough people that like this card that I can't get...
Just you.
I can't get enough of them to make it worthwhile to have a whole deck of them. Because the only reason this deck would be good is if I can wheel a ton. But I can never wheel a ton because everyone keeps taking it.
Then you wouldn't have any creatures. This card would just...
No, but all my first picks
we played this card, and what did we do? Every single time, we cast it on our opponent's creature to cycle it away.
Yeah, and that was great. We did really well.
No, so it was like a really bad opt.
So? I don't know. There's no opt in this format. This card
opt already isn't really limited playable these days.
Opt is great. What are you talking about? Get out of here. Get out of here. Opt is great.
I'd rather consider my options.
No, I'd rather consider my options. Just I don't know. Anyway, no. So I think this card is more of a meme dream than a good card. I don't put this in many of my decks. But I do think it would be a really fun deck that you built that is this card. But I don't have enough of them, and I don't want to do it as much. But even this with like it's you could just attack with some huge shit. It sounds great. I don't know. I like it.
If at the end 17 lands, the end of the format 17 lands will tell me this card's in the top half of red commons, I will be shocked.
What will you do?
I will be Flame Blessed Bolts. Bolted.
Well, if it's in the top half of red commons. Oh shit! Let me check.
There's a lot of good red commons.
I don't know if I want to make a bet. Never mind. I'm not going to make a bet. I was like, I'm going
Are
to.
you looking at 17 lands right now?
No, I'm just looking at the red commons.
Oh yeah.
Because like Sure Strike gets me so much that like, all right, fucking Sure Strike. Anyway, yeah.
I would believe that it's better than Lightning Wolf. I'll give you that.
It's definitely better than Lightning Wolf and the Festivities. Everything else.
Oh yeah, and the Festivities has got to be the last one.
That
at the bottom.
Yeah, that one fucking sucks. But yeah, all right, fine.
But I did want to put like a real one out there for all you non-Zach folks who already know that card wasn't good. That's which is Lacerate Flesh. So this is 4 and a red sorcery, deals 4 damage to a creature. Create blood tokens equal to the excess damage. Now, blood tokens are better than we thought. The only reason I would say this is overvalued is that red has so much good removal that you don't need to stoop to 5 mana sorcery deal 4. Like, that is just so much worse than a Braid at common, Flameblessed Bolt at common, and then there's the 5 mana for 3 at uncommon. Like, if you're in a red deck, you just don't really need to play this. If you need to play this in your red deck, it's because there were 3 or 4 red drafters at the table and you didn't get the really premium stuff.
Yeah. Also, like, a 5 mana sorcery that you're like, ooh, hopefully the best case scenario is I kill their 1/1, so I get 3 blood tokens.
Yeah, exactly. That's another good point, right? If this kills something that a Braid and Flameblessed Bolt wouldn't kill, then you don't get any blood tokens. So
why are you playing this? Like,
yeah,
okay, yeah, you did kill that 4 toughness creature. Nice job. All right, let's get to the last one and then go to last call.
All right, so this was my pick, so I guess I'll read it. It's the green one. To be honest, it was hard to find a green card that's overvalued. Maybe that just means green isn't the best. But there is a card that I see all the time, and it boggles my mind because I don't understand why you would play this card. So it's Sheltering Boughs.
I think it's bows.
Yeah, I'm going to say Sheltering Boughs, and it's 2 and a green. For an enchantment or it enchants a creature. When it ETBs, it draws a card, so maybe that's why. But then its enchanted creature gets +1/+3. Yeah, my opponents play this really, really often, and I think it's terrible. Like, it still has the problem of if I kill your creature in response, you don't get your card. So you get 2 for 1. And it's kind of like a 3 mana pump spell a lot of the time. +1/+3 is not that relevant. Is this supposed to be for the black-green, like, Nicki Minaj deck? I don't even know. What is this for?
I don't know either.
Why is everyone playing this?
This card sucks. Every time my opponent plays it, I'm like, why the fuck would you play this?
Yeah.
You could be playing...
it's free.
You could be playing Ancestral Recall. No, it's not Ancestral Recall. I say that every time.
Yeah, well, can they? I want to do
No, I want to play Ancestral Recall. You could play Ancestral Anger instead. But you play this 3 mana version for the same shit, kind of. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's bad. I don't
this
like
card is really bad. Stop playing it.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean there are no situations where it's passable, but, like, people are playing it too much.
So the thing is, people are really low on Nature's Embrace, which fine, I get it. Like, I get why you wouldn't want, like, that card. I understand that I like auras more than regular people, but Sheltered Bows is not great because it just what are you gonna do? It doesn't give reach. Like, wouldn't you want it to or have flash or something? Like, it just,
if it had flash, it would be great.
Yeah,
because it'd be like a combat trick that cycles, that, like,
exactly
gets itself a new card.
I guess in this format they don't want you to have a combat trick that cycles. So
maybe great is even pushing it a bit, but it'd be a lot better.
Maybe it would make more sense why people would play it. I think Nature's Embrace is better in most every case. Like,
yeah, and I don't think Nature's Embrace is that good. So
yeah,
but I agree that it's probably better than this.
Exactly, and I agree that Nature's Embrace is also not very good unless you want to play something on a 5 mana spell really, really intensely. Want to play a 5 mana spell? Otherwise, don't play it. Those are our picks for the kind of overvalued, undervalued cards that are in draft, things that we have noticed. Tell us if you don't think that we're right about anything. We'd love that. Find us on Twitter and Instagram. We'll tell you about that later. But right now, it's time for last call because it's getting late, Jeff. And we don't want this
Yeah.
to be Midnight Magic, do we? I mean, I kind of want it to be Midnight Magic, but at the same time, it's getting late.
Yeah.
So,
I agree.
Jeff, big reveal time. Which one did we pick? Who knows? Who can ever be sure? Here we go.
I have an idea.
3, 2, 1.
Hey!
Hey, look at that. We both picked the same beer.
I thought you might have picked yours.
No.
Okay. Well, we'll get to that, I guess.
Yeah, we will get to that. I'm just gonna pour this right out because I really liked the last one I had. I really liked it. Well, let's just get right into rating beers. So as always, if you're new to the show, we have a rating system that is the tiers in Arena. So it's from bronze to mythic, and those are the tiers in Arena. Those are the tiers that we rate beers on, and these ratings have nothing to do with what we think of the people in the tiers in Arena. It's a fun way to talk about beer. But with that being said, bronze beers are trash beers. They're horrible. They're so bad that you can't even finish drinking them. Like, you just get rid of them.
Yeah. Silver beers are beers that have nothing really interesting going on. Most macro brews will find themselves in this category.
Yeah. Gold beers are fine, but you're probably not going to think about them ever again.
Yeah, platinum they're good, and you would drink this one again.
Diamond is exceptional. You will recommend this to your friends.
And Mythic is the absolute best. You'll recommend this to anyone and everyone.
That is right. Jeff, I think we should just start off right off the bat with the beer we did not pick because I have the most feelings about that one.
Okay.
We did not pick my beer, which was Midnight Magic. And boy, was it not magic at all.
I didn't really get the pomace.
I didn't get anything. It was nothing.
Yeah, so when I hear saison, I'm expecting big flavors basically because to me that's what it means. Like you kind of get the fruitiness coming through from it's supposed to be like a farmhouse style ale, like some guy in the south of France brewed this in his farmhouse or something, and you get all these crazy flavors in it. So that's what I'm promised, and I felt like this one was a bit flat on that.
I always feel like saison is supposed to be kind of like spicy and has like some different tones in it. It's going to be a little bit edgier and different than some other beers that you've had. This tasted like nothing. Like,
yeah, it was definitely pretty monotonous.
I'm really happy that this is a small batch because I'd never want to drink this again. Although I'm going to drink another one later in the after party. But
yeah.
Ugh, I was so upset.
I don't know if they were trying to make like a more drinkable saison as an experiment because it's not like a beer style that a lot of people
like.
It's not like an entry ramp beer style.
Definitely not.
So maybe that was their ambition, but yeah, I don't know. For something that was a saison mixed with wine, allegedly, like all of that just means big flavor to me, and I didn't get any.
I didn't get any flavor. It is definition silver in my mind. It's so silver that after the first sip, I was like,
I was ready to give it gold, but I think you've kind of talked me down because I was like trying to not be too harsh on it.
No,
and I didn't want to come out and give your like Muskoka and your pick a silver here, but I think you're probably right. It was boring enough to merit silver.
It was just so frustrating because it seemed so exciting and fun, and I was really high on it coming into it. I was so excited. I've had this for a while and was like, oh, I can't wait to drink that. And the first sip was like, this is nothing. This is just a whisper in the wind.
See, that's how I was talking myself up to gold. I was like, you were just expecting too much. You got less than you expected, and so it came across as flavorless.
No, it just tasted like nothing. Sorry, I'm over it. Let's move on. Silver for Midnight Magic.
Okay, a pair of silvers for Midnight Magic. Then let's go on to Viaduct, which was the other end of the scale where I was really pleasantly surprised by this one.
Yeah.
It's really hard for an IPA to come on this show and get a high ranking from me because I've tried so many IPAs and a lot of them are just more of the same. But I actually really like this one.
Interesting. I liked it as well. I didn't think of it as like super. This is funny. I didn't think of it as something that was like different or exceptional until drinking the second one. The second one feels really nice. Like, the first one was good. The first one was just a relief, I think, after the Midnight Magic, which I was like,
Fair.
can I drink a real beer? Sorry. Can I have a beer? Like, this is fine. Like, it's not even fine. It's just like, I don't want to drink that again. Sorry. I'm going to get off that train. But I'm going to get onto this Danforth train because, boy, was it nice. Did it make me feel like I was just wavering above the river on a bridge?
Totally, yeah. Yeah, I bought this beer because I've never had anything from Danforth Brewery. And I'm going to be trying some more stuff. Now, this is just exactly the type of stuff I like in an IPA, so it has kind of like the citrus, sure, the citrusy notes going on. But it also has a bit of that woodsy stuff that I don't like when that's the main focal point, but I love it when it's a little on the back. I'm trying to figure out if they tell me what hops they used on this can. It looks like they just tell you it's like water and hops and yeast and barley, like every beer. But I think it might be Cascade.
Okay.
But I can't find the like ingredients.
Oh, it says Cascade at the top. Cascade, citrus, aromatic.
Oh yeah. Okay. So then it's Cascade hops, which I love. So
yeah, there you go. I think I also love them. I think that those might be the ones that I'm really high on. So yeah, Jeff, where are you gonna put this bad boy?
I landed on Diamond for this, and you're not gonna talk me out of it.
Ooh, wow. I'm feeling very pessimistic. I think I really like this one. I think I might want to try more of their stuff. I think it's solid. I'm going to give it platinum. I don't think it's one of my favorite IPAs, or like it's not one that I would probably recommend a lot, but for sure thought this was solid, like a really good beer, and I'm definitely going to try more of their stuff to see if I start to grow a little higher and higher on them.
Fair enough. I had a feeling that you might be on platinum for it, which is still good. But
yeah,
I just really liked it because it just lines up with what I think of when I think of West Coast IPA.
I think I agree with that as well. So it definitely feels like a West Coast IPA. So great, wonderful. At least we had one beer that was good because it's always a bummer when both beers kind of just suck. So, all right, Jeff.
It has happened, but
it does happen. So, Jeff, I think that it is closing time.
That's a shame.
You can always reach us at Arena Regulars on Twitter and Instagram if you have any questions or think that we are rating certain cards too highly, too lowly. Just go on and tell us what your favorite color pair is and how you think that our ranking of it was not good enough.
You might also find us on Arena under the username Arena Regulars Podcast. If you see us not practicing what we preach here and playing some of the cards we said were bad and not playing the cards we said were good, please tell us, Don't let us get away with that.
Absolutely. If you want to reach me personally, you can find me at Zulberg, that's ZEULBERG, on Twitter and Instagram. But Jeff, where can they find you?
They can find me at Blues Brews MTG on Twitter. I post occasionally.
Yeah, you do. Also, please review us on Apple Podcasts and iTunes. Follow us on Spotify and any place you're listening to us right now. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave a comment just about anything. We would love to hear your feedback. It really goes a long way. It makes us feel really great. Actually, recently we had a listener reach out to me and tell us how excited he was for every Thursday because our show came out, and that just really made me feel very good inside. So
that's awesome.
I hope.
Was it your mom?
It was my best friend, but
all right, I'm just gonna let that one go.
Yeah, but still, it means a lot. So we
remember sending that.
This has been the Arena Regulars,
reminding you to stop playing Ancestral Anger. There's no dream. Just don't play it.
Oh, good night. All right, that's fine.